Well, as we continue to take a look back and reflect on the 20-year anniversary of the first men's lacrosse championship in the history of the Limestone program, we're now going to talk with one of the other captains of that team in Jake Lawson. And Jake, it's been a while since we've seen each other, but you're looking good. Thank you so much for taking time to sit down and chat with us.
No, my pleasure. For sure, my pleasure.
Did you ever think that Limestone winning the NCAA lacrosse championship would eventually turn the Limestone men's lacrosse program into the dynasty that it is today, with 19 NCAA tournament appearances, 12 national title games, and 5 national championship victories?
Well, I can say I don't think I ever would have thought. We knew it was going to be big to win, and if we did win, we knew it was going to be huge for the program. But, you know, what we probably thinking back would have been a great few years thereafter, but not to think here we are 20 years later, to look at what the program and what the team and the coaching staff has done in the last 20 years. It's remarkable. And I never would have thought it would have got to that degree, but pretty exciting for sure.
Now, you were a vocal leader on that 2000 team. Anybody that watched this team knows that. Was there any point in that season where you kind of had to help the team refocus, reboot, so to speak, or did the team have that mentality the entire season?
Well, I would say we had a great balance of leadership. We had a great balance from seniors down to freshmen. What I will say is I think where the team really had the gut check the most, it's not the game we won, it's the game we lost. And when we look back, that was probably the best thing to happen, because we really had to regroup. And I think it honestly made us stronger. When you look at the championship game, winning by 1 goal, it was the adversity mid-season that really created that drive that took us to where we were in the end. And I think that was, to me, one of the biggest, most important, kind of times in our season. And so I think that's probably where we needed to look ourselves in the mirror and regroup. And at the end of the day, it may not be important who we lost to, but it was how we reacted after that.
Now, let me ask you this, the process, because this didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You yourself lost a season because of a knee injury, which I know was devastating to you. But if you would, how did this all come together?
Well, listen, it started obviously with Coach Serino and the team, Coach Fenn, Coach Sessa, the team. From the time they started the organization down there in 1990, it was great to see how that whole program grew and matured and developed. I was lucky to transfer in from Canada as a junior. And like you said, I blew my knee out in the fall ball, and I was devastated. I couldn't believe it. And I was so upset and disappointed. I remember coming back from that road trip, sitting in the training room, a bucket of ice, of course, on my knee. And Coach Serino came in and he says, "Hey, you know what? You might look back in 3 years and this will be the best thing." And of course, I'm in misery and upset and disappointed. And he said, we could get a bid for the national championship 2 years from now. And he says, we might win the national championship. And it was one of those things. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened. And I think about that a lot. And it's, sometimes you don't know why things happen, but they happen for a reason. But I'll say that in the 3 years I was at Limestone, to see the talent and the team and the program mature in those 3 years from start to finish, it was meant to be, and it was for good reason. So it was one of the best experiences looking back at.
Let's go to the game day itself.
Yeah.
Up there in Maryland. I don't think many folks outside of those that were in the travel party for Limestone thought the blue and gold even had a chance to hang in there with a perennial power at that point. You mentioned the youth of the Limestone program, but what are some of the moments that you remember from that championship victory?
Well, I think there's a few things. I mean, number one, it was a blur going up there. It was a blur leading to the game. I remember the night before. I remember the practice the morning of. When we got out there on that field, and I think at the time CW Post had been there 3 years in a row in that championship game, lost all 3 years. And from the very first whistle, Ricky Matthews picked up that ball. We took it down, and I think about 30 or 32 seconds into the game, Ricky scored. And at that point, I think the entire team, everyone in that stadium, looked at each other and said, this is ours to win. And it was cool because it wasn't easy, and obviously a 10-9 game. It went down to the very last wire. I remember Nick kicking that ball, to get it basically out of danger coming down to the wire. But it was back and forth. But I remember it was that goal Ricky scored going into it that we were here to play and we were here to compete, and it was awesome. Awesome.
Well, during the course of lifetime, many things may happen to you, but they say one thing that will never be taken away from you is when you win a championship. That's something that you'll always have in the stories, and you've been very kind to join us and help reflect on that. So thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, sir. All the best, and wishing the team and the group the most success here going forward for sure. Thank you again.
Jake Lawson, one of the senior captains of that 2000 Limestone Men's National Championship team.